Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Waharakah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to you brothers out there on the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, I want to read this and then see if we can get some understanding as to who the high priest was offering the sacrifices for the remission of sins. I want to know if it was humanity. Because you see, like I said, goofy Christianity tries to translate and transmutate the word of the Bible into a book of humanity, when that's not the case. Are all peoples contained within the Bible? Yes. Does the Bible address various people in the Bible? Yes. But when it comes to the covenants, the Lord was only dealing with the Israelites. And if you read the Bible, you will find and see that the narrative of the Bible centers around a particular people, which is the Israelites. It doesn't center around mankind in general. It's not a book that's about mankind. It's really focused on the Israelites. So if we go to Hebrews and 26, it says, "For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, and undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than heavens, who he need not daily as those high priests." Now, that's talking about the high priest under the Levitical priesthood, to offer up for his own sins and then for the people's. So, what was the role of the high priest? They offered up for their own sins, and then offered up for the people. What people? Was that all people? Was that humanity? It says, "For this he did once when he offered up himself." So Yahweh Shai offered up himself and did once for the people. He did it, and he did it one time. He didn't do it for himself and doing it daily for the people. So the people to whom this sacrifice pertains didn't change. Let's read it again. "Who needeth not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice for his own sins, and then for the people's daily. For this he did once when he offered up himself." Now, let's have a look. So let's get context. It says, "And then because we already know he didn't have to send up sacrifice for his own sins because he was without blemish. All right. But it says, "and then for the people's." So let's get where that's coming from. Leviticus 4:13. "And if the whole congregation of Israel, and if the whole congregation of Israel, and if the whole congregation of Israel," this was never nothing to do with humanity, man. The high priest was performing the sacrifices for the congregation, which, by the way, the word church shouldn't be in the Bible. The word there is ecclesia, which goes back into kahal, right? Which goes back to the holy congregation of Israel. All right. The word church should not be in the Bible. The congregation in the New Testament is the same congregation of people from the Old Testament. The Lord was always dealing with a congregation, and the congregation is the congregation of Israel. Right, the Israel of God. "And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before the Lord, and the bullock shall be killed before the Lord. And the priest that is anointed shall bring of the bullock's blood to the tabernacle of the congregation. So this is all to do with Israel. Right? He said Leviticus 9:15, and he brought the people. What people was this? Huh? And took the goat which was the sin offering for the people, and slew it and offered it for sin as the first. All right. So, this, Isaiah 53. I was going to get that. He was bruised for our transgressions, right? When you go to Matthew 1:21, what does it say? And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins. Yeah, he was going to perform the role of the high priest, and he was going to make a sacrifice for the congregation of Israel, because that's what the high priest did. This had never had anything to do with the other nations. Just like the high priest on the Day of Atonement, it had nothing to do with the other nations. But these men are trying to make it about that without no reference. Right? This is why even when you go into Hebrews, the 7th chapter, and it's talking about Yahweh being the high priest, right? What does it directly go into then? In the 8th chapter, it starts talking about the covenants. Who was the covenant with? The Israelites. Then it goes into the new covenant. So once the sins of the congregation is forgiven, they can enter into a new covenant, right? And who is the covenant with? Well, hold on. Let's just get straight to the point. Hebrews 8:10. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be my people. It's all about the house of Israel, the congregation of Israel. It's there in the scriptures. Even when the scriptures speak about Yahweh Shai being the Passover, only Israelites could partake of the Passover. The Passover is an Israelite thing, and it always shall be. The Passover was about the salvation of Israel, the sons of God. A non-Israelite can't just eat the Passover. It's not for them. When you go into the scriptures, it tells you that a stranger can't eat thereof. In fact, let's get that. So Exodus 12:43 says, and the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger eat thereof. Now, you look up the word there for stranger. Right? Where is it? The word there is nakar. Now, nakar has a connotation meaning someone who is foreign or an alien. So this is talking about it's someone who's not an Israelite, a nakar. Right? 9 times out of 10, where you find this word, it's talking about someone who isn't an Israelite, because the connotation of being foreign comes with it. Right? Now, when you go down, though, it says, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover. Oh, see, a stranger can eat. No. The stranger there is talking about a sojourner. Now, an Israelite can be a sojourner. The Levites were sojourners because they had no inheritance. A sojourner, I'll give you an example. If you're from the tribe of Benjamin and you go among Judah, you're a sojourner. If you're from the tribe of Gad and you go among Manasseh, you're a sojourner, you're a stranger, because you are where you do not have inherited rights. It's not your hometown, so to speak. That's why the word here is not nakar. It's a stranger, is gar. Right? Of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. Because you got to remember that the land of Israel was split up into tribal lands. So Levites were considered sojourners, right? Because they never had no actual inheritance, right? And like I said, if one tribe was to go and among another tribe, he would be a sojourner, a traveler. He would be a stranger. He could keep the Passover with you, but you had to make sure that he was in line with the law, meaning he was circumcised. And that's what it's going to go on to say. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Now, Yahweh Shai is likened unto our Passover, which proves that if you're an heathen, you can't partake in Yahweh Shai, because this law says that a stranger shall not eat thereof. But a stranger who hasn't been born in the land where you are can, meaning an Israelite that's not from that, and that goes into the Gentiles. Israelites that are born in foreign lands, or not born where you're from, if they come among you, you have to accept them. And they can partake. And that's exactly what was happening. The Gentiles that were coming back into the truth were likened unto a sojourner. But they had conceded rights because they were Israelites, man. They could partake in Yahweh Shai because they were Israelites. If you're an Israelite, you can partake in the Passover. You just got to go through the protocols. If you're a heathen, you can't partake in the Passover. So how can they partake in Yahweh Shai when Yahweh Shai is our Passover? It don't make no sense. All right? This ain't never been for the other nations, man. Period. Shalom.